welcome to my channel. We're going to be doing something super fun, super laid back, super chill today. I'm going to be reading and reacting to, I have not read any of these prior, 1-star reviews of my 5-star books. The first book I have picked out to read 1-star reviews of is The Selection. I chose The Selection, meaning the whole of the Selection series, which is probably my favorite series. I think this is the first series that I read as an adult, and I fell in love. This is one of the books that made me fall in love with reading. I also reread this series at the end of last year, so it is fresh on my mind. And I stand by my rating that this is my favorite series. I think I rated this book in particular a 4-star, but still, I'm obsessed. Such a good series. Let's see what people have to say. I'm going to be picking the first maybe 2 1-star reviews that aren't multiple paragraphs long, because a lot of the 1-star reviews on here are like pages and pages long. I'm going to pick the first 2 1-star reviews that have 1 or 2 paragraphs. And we have 6 books to go through today, so buckle in. This review is from Shannon, and I'm looking at all of my reviews on Goodreads. That's where I'm getting these reviews from. If you can get past the "I'm smelling my armpit" cover, and also the silly names and the horribly unoriginal storyline and the terrible writing, wait, really? You can get past all of that? What does that leave you then? A nice font? Seriously though, reading reviews for this one, they're not favorable for a reason. I can't believe, hold on. I can't believe she went after the cover like that. Because at first I was trying to think, I was like, I'm smelling my armpit cover. Because I thought it was like a cover for something else, you know, that sort of cover. And then I look over to the side where it has the picture of the book, and I'm like, oh, like the book cover, that I'm spelling my armpit book cover. That's so funny. Yeah, I guess that's kind of weird. I don't know, I've always loved this color because I think this cover because I think her dress is beautiful. Although I hate real people on covers. That's something that I don't enjoy. So I guess the cover, I kind of get it. The silly names, I also had a hard time with the silly names. Like the main character, her name is America Singer. She lives in, I can't remember what their land is called now, but it used to be America. So that's how she got her name. And she is a singer. So her name, America Singer, it's a little awkward. Also the prince, his name is Maxon, which I always thought was weird. Other than that, I can't think of any other like weird names. But the 2 main characters, I mean, that's kind of weird. What else did she say? The unoriginal storyline. This being my first series that I read as an adult, I ate it up. So I guess maybe it is an unoriginal storyline, but I loved it. The story, maybe I should explain what these books are about. The Selection follows America as she is chosen to basically be in this bachelor style competition to marry the prince. She is from the lowest caste, I think is what they're called. So she's like, or I guess she's not the lowest, but she is like right above like homeless, basically, in her family's wealth. And in this world, depending on what caste you're in, is like what jobs you can have. So it basically keeps people in their castes because as a 6, which I think she can't get a high-paying job. So it kind of keeps her there. Anyway, but it's a lot more than that. Once the series like actually goes on, it's a lot more than just a bachelor style book. The prince trying to find his future spouse. It's more than that. But the first book, that's basically all there is. So I don't know about the unoriginal storyline. I thought it was a great premise of a book. The terrible writing, I didn't see a problem with the writing. Although I'm not a writer, so I don't know. I thought this was great. It's also young adult, so, or is it a young adult or is it like a teen? No, this is a teen book, so it's not supposed to be like super amazing. I don't know. I thought the writing was fine. A nice font. That's so funny. Shannon, thank you for your review. I don't think I agree, but I enjoyed reading it. It made me laugh. The next quote I found that wasn't multiple paragraphs long is from Eileen. She says, "A moment of silence for the book I just buried in my garden." Oh my gosh. These, I love going through 1-star reviews on Goodreads. I think they're so funny. So, that was the selection. Moving on to my next book, which is Edenbrooke. For a long time, this was my all-time favorite book. I don't know if it still is, but I've also reread this book like 3 times, and every single time I just eat it up. It's so good. So let's see what people have to say about my beloved Edenbrooke. First 1-star review says, oh, it's from Teresa. She says, DNF'd at 20% for bad writing, undeveloped setting, unlikable characters, and too much twirling. That is so funny because the twirling is part of the reason I enjoy this book so much. Literally, oh, I don't think this is the book that I annotated. Hold on, let me find that one. This is the Edenbrooke that I annotated. And one of the very first things that I annotated on page 4, okay, I've got my little sticky here. It says, twirling had once been a habit of mine, though grandmother would have called it a bad habit. That is like the first paragraph that I made note of in this book. I love that she twirls. She takes a moment out of the mundaneness that is life and she twirls. She twirls whenever she feels happy, whenever she's outside feeling the grass between her toes, feeling the wind on her face, she twirls. And I think it's so cute. I don't know what this review is saying. I also, before filming this video, I kind of browsed through the reviews on Edenbrooke, and most of the 1-star reviews are from people who DNF the book, which I don't think it's fair to rate things if you DNF them. But I don't know, I've never DNF'd a book. So, again, with the bad writing, I didn't think this had bad writing at all. I didn't find anything wrong with the writing. Underdeveloped setting, I don't know what that's talking about. I had a clear picture of my mind of what Edenbrooke looked like. Is that what she means? Like the setting of it? I don't know. Unlikable characters. I liked all the characters. Her sister is probably the most unlikable character, but like I kind of loved her too because of how unlikable she was, you know? Like there was just, she was different and I liked it. I liked that not all of them are cookie cutter characters, you know? They all have their own thing and some of them are unlikable. And that's kind of the beauty of this book. Sorry, I'll flip it around so you can actually see it, not just look at the back. Here we go, the second review by Diane. She said, I abandoned this after the first chapter? Girly, I literally put in here, oh, sorry, wrong book. I annotated this book for my husband while we were still dating. Chapter 1, I have a sticky note in here that says, I struggled with the first few chapters, but I promise it gets better. I just want you all to see that. So I understand what she's saying. The first 2 chapters, they're slow. They're not very fun to get through. But this book goes hard. Once you get through, it's such a good book. The writing is bad, and the main character, Marianne, was on my nerves already. What's with all the twirling? That's the second person who is upset about the twirling. I'll stick with Georgette higher if I wanted Regency romance. I'm sorry, Marianne. I feel like they did you dirty. I think you're a great character. I love your twirling. You do not deserve all the hate you're getting. That's all I'll say about that. The next book I'm going to read reviews for is If He Had Been With Me. First 1-star review from Tori says, DNF'd at 25%. I cannot get into this book. I'm too old to read about teenagers fighting over a lunch table. That's actually so valid. Again, I don't think you should be rating books if you had to DNF them, but whatever, to each their own. I totally got that. It is definitely a teenage book. I read this right out of high school. It'd probably been a year since I graduated, and I think I liked it so much because of the time I read it. If I would have read this 5 years in the future, I probably wouldn't have liked it very much. But as a teenager, I very much enjoyed it. So I get what she's saying. And the second review is from Harper. She said, this was actually so bad. Like, why is this so popular? Not much to go off there. I don't know what she disliked about the book. I think this one I knew of because of TikTok. So I think this is a TikTok popular book. I enjoyed it. That's all I have to say about this book. I enjoyed it. It's alright if you didn't. This is not everyone's cup of tea, for sure. Next book we have is Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. I know Colleen gets a lot of hate for her books, but she is one of the first authors that I read as an adult. If I reread these books today, would I still give them 5 stars? Maybe not. But as someone who is just starting to get into reading, I ate it up. It was so fast paced that I've never flown through a book like I've flown through Colleen Hoover's books. I think I even got like a pack of her books. It was Ugly Love, November 9th, and If He Had Been With Me. And those were the first 3 of her books that I read. I ate all of those up. Those were so good. And then I got Verity by Colleen Hoover. That I gave 1 star. That was too much for me. And since then I have not read another Colleen Hoover book because I'm a little scared. However, these first 3 books that I read, I loved them. Preface: this is the spiciest book on my bookshelf. If you do not like spice, do not pick up Colleen Hoover. She has spice in every single one of her books, but this one, the preface of this book is basically 2 people who are just booty calls for each other. The 2 main characters start falling for each other, even though that's not the point of their relationship. I don't know. Let's read some reviews. I can hear the reviews already. I can hear them already. I'm kind of excited to look at the reviews. Okay, the first review that I found, Aishika, maybe? It says, F you, Miles, which is the MMC of this book. I'll leave that there. The next review I found is from Zoli, and she says, this book is my 13th reason. I told you, there's a lot of hate on Colleen Hoover. But even with these really harsh reviews, this book has a 4.01 star rating on Goodreads, which is like really high. If there is a 4-star rating on Goodreads, I'm like, wow, this book must be good. The next book is a recent read that I read in a video. Go check out my bookshelf scavenger hunt if you haven't already. It is Every Last Word. I rated this a 5-star, and this is the first book that I read out of a reading slump. This book got me out of a reading slump, which is why I rated it a 5-star. As I've been thinking about this book since, I probably would not have rated this a 5-star if it hadn't got me out of a reading slump. If I was just reading a book on a casual day, don't think I would give it a 5-star. But it's also really good. It was fast paced. It was easy to read. Got me out of a reading slump. I am very grateful for this book. Now let's see what the people have to say. All right, first comment is from Peach. It just says DNF'd at 30%. So, cool. And the second rating is from Ariana Conway. It says, I want to give it a 0, but that's not possible, so I'll give it a 1. Again, not much to go off of. I enjoyed the book. I'm sorry you didn't. I really thought these reviews would be more on the OCD aspect because this main character has OCD, and I thought maybe there'd be some reviews about like, oh, this isn't OCD, you know, how people are. As fun as it is to read the reviews first with y'all, I feel like this video could be more entertaining if I had picked reviews. If I had read through a bunch of them and picked the most, you know, controversial in my eyes, but I wanted to react to them with you. So maybe next time I do this video, I'll like have someone read reviews and give them to me. Because those 2 for this book, there was nothing to go off of. So, I don't know. We'll keep going. I think I'm just gonna do all of my 5 stars because I was gonna split this into 2 parts because I have 12 books that I have rated 5 stars. I was gonna do 6 in this video, break it up, do another video of 6, but I've been filming for less than 30 minutes. So I can't even imagine how short this video will be when I cut out all of the pauses and things like that. So we're gonna keep going. Well, obviously, this is our 6th book. It is November 9th by Colleen Hoover, again, Coho. Yeah. I have read this book twice. I read it the first time when I was reading Ugly Love and It Ends With Us. I think I read those 3 books like one after the other because I was just eating them all up. And then the second time I read this, I read it on November 9th, and I just took the whole day and I read the book in one sitting, and it was so much fun. It was so much fun. This is the most tame of the books that I've read from Colleen Hoover. It's the least spicy, it's the least abusive male main character. So I feel like this will have less dramatic reviews than the last one, but there's only one way to find out. So, okay, the first review I found, Persephone, maybe, says, and to think, trees were cut down for this atrocity to be printed out. And the next review is from April. It says, now that I've had a couple days to think about this one, I need to lower my rating. Some of the things that Ben said / did weren't okay and shouldn't be shown to be acceptable in books. That's really awkward because I just said that this book didn't have a terrible male main character. And now April is saying that Ben, the male main character, is terrible. I don't remember that. It's been a long while since I've read this book, but I don't remember Ben being terrible. Well, other than obviously the plot twist of the book, that was crazy. I don't remember Ben being terrible. Is he terrible? Do I just have a low standard? I picked the rest of my 5 stars off of the shelf. The first we're going to look up reviews for is Come Back to Me by Mila Gray. Okay, first review by Alice, DNF'd at 18%. Thank you, Alice, for your very great review. Okay, next one is by Joanna. This is a full paragraph, so we're very excited. Even though the story was promising, the writing was very, very poor. The characters were shallow and childish. They were supposed to be young, but they were stereotypical teenagers playing a stupid game instead of actually having a conversation. Very disappointing. I have a feeling that the author was challenged to use as much of pseudo-military lingo as possible, even if it made no sense whatsoever. Again with the writing, am I just drawn to books that have terrible writing? You know what, maybe that's true, because I like books where I don't have to think very hard. I can read it, I can skim it, and I understand what's happening. So maybe in that sense, the writing isn't as advanced as some people might think that it should be. I also thought it was interesting that Joanna pointed out these people are teenagers, but then said that the characters were shallow and childish. You know, that's kind of who teenagers are. Their brains have not fully developed. They are childish and they make stupid decisions, and I don't think that's a negative towards the book. I think that's just how teenagers are, and I like that it's shown in this way. I think I am someone who doesn't mind unlikable characters. Not that these aren't unlikable characters, but a lot of the books that are my 5 stars, they have unlikable characters in the book. I don't mind that. I think it's fun to read about the unlikable characters and the dynamic between the characters I do like. And the military lingo making no sense whatsoever. I feel like I kind of got that in this book, but I thought it was me. I'm like, am I just not educated enough to know what's happening or what this military lingo is and what it means? And I don't know. I thought that was me, but I definitely could see what she was saying with that one. So thank you, Joanna, for giving us an actual review. Appreciate you. Moving on, we have another one of my absolute favorite books. This Is Falling by Ginger Scott. It was my first sports romance, and oh my gosh, I fell in love with sports romances from this book. This is so good, and the talk of grief in this book is so good too. I love it. I love this book. I had my friend read it recently. She loves it too. Okay, the first review is from Valerie. She says DNF'd at 68%. That's the farthest DNF review we've gotten. Good job, Valerie. I can't believe I made it that far. I want to punch everyone in this book. I don't know what she means by that. I loved all the characters in this book. There was one character that was the unlikable character of the book. But other than that, I think these characters are grand. I love them. And the second 1-star review is going to be by Kai. It says, 1 give me a break stars. First of all, this is pretty much like every other new adult book, full of cliches and whatnot, but what pissed me off was the MC's slut-shaming to make her look innocent and better, which she wasn't, or her unnecessary thoughts and overall boring voice, but the hero was basically someone I wouldn't mind punching. It's hard to believe that a teen boy is looking for his one. But even harder that when he does find her, she's perfect. Her hair, her eyes, her freaking feet. I mean, come on. It made the story boring and unrealistic. No, a guy doesn't have to be either an asshole or a super nice guy. There is an in between. I don't want to film this video anymore. Okay, I guess I can see where this person is getting the slut shaming thing. I don't think she ever actually did that. But I guess in the dialogue of her mind, no. I was about to say she like judges someone for how they dress and the attention seeking and things like that, but I don't think it's more of a judgment. I think it was just kind of giving us info for one of the characters. I don't know. Maybe I just read that differently. Overall boring voice. The hero was basically someone I wouldn't mind punching. Boring? I'm sorry. This chick had so much going on. So much going on. How is she boring? And then the teen boy is looking for his one, and then she's perfect for him is a negative, apparently. I don't see that as a negative. You know, I am just in a romance book for the romance and the happily ever after and the love. So I'm sorry if some people who are in college, yes, they're probably 18, but they're in college, is looking for his true love and then finds the perfect girl and they click and they start dating, and what's wrong with that? However, I got married at 19, so maybe that's just me. Did I get married at 19? 20. I got married at 20, so maybe that's just me. I don't see a problem in trying to find your one at 18. I mean, what is dating if not to lead you towards the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with? Boring and unrealistic. I don't want a realistic book. I look into books trying to escape my life. If a book is realistic, I don't want it. Also, the very last comment about there's an in-between between a jerk and a nice guy. His brother is the perfect in-between of a jerk and a nice guy. Just saying. Let's move on to the very last Colleen Hoover book, It Ends With Us. If you don't know, there is a movie about this book now. I liked the movie. Everyone's hating on it because of, what's her name? Ryan Reynolds' wife? Blake Lively. Everyone's hating on it because of Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. I don't care. I don't care about the actors' personal lives, or I don't know. I don't keep up with it, so I don't know what all the drama is about the movie, but I know that there's lots of drama because of the characters, or because of the actors. I don't care. I really don't. I'm gonna go watch a movie, and if I like it, I like it. Anyway, I even have in here my movie stub from when I went to see the movie. I will give a little preface. If you haven't seen the movie or read the book, it has themes of abuse, sexual and physical. So just keep that in mind if you go to read or watch the movie. First review, Alyssa, DNF'd at 18%. Please have sex with me. I want you so, so bad, and I swear once you have sex with me, you'll never hear from me again. I promise. F this book. Why people continue to swoon over characters who treat them like crap is beyond my realm of thought, especially since she's supposed to be someone who isn't the type of person who does one-night stands. Yet here we are again, a story about a guy who apparently has a magical penis to make you throw your convictions out the window just because he's hot and wearing hospital scrubs. Absolutely not. I'll be honest, I didn't like the first part of this book either. Probably the first 18%. But I don't DNF books, and sometimes that leaves me with a 5-star. Again, would I give this a 5-star if I read it again today? Probably not. But for right now, this is a 5-star book from the last time I read it. I get it. I totally get what she's saying, but also I think that's just a difference in preferences of books. Like, some people prefer like a darker romance. I know this isn't a dark romance by any means, but like a darker romance where the guy's kind of crap and the girl falls into it and loses her morals and goes for the guy because he's ridiculously hot. Some people enjoy that trope, and obviously you don't, which is fine. Go you for having your own opinion. I love it. But this book is so much more. It's so much more than she said, because obviously she only read 18% of the book, and it's so much more than what I just said, that trope that I just expressed. It's so much more, and back and forth from her past and her present, and I don't know, there's so much more to this book. And yes, the first probably 18% is like that, and it's like, is this really a book I want to get into? But the rest of the book is so deep and so much more than it is at first glance. Was that my first? I think that was my first. I'm gonna read one more. Oh, the next one is from Christina, and it says, just, period, no, period. Cool. Thank you for your opinion. Moving on. We have last year's only 5-star read, Love and Luck by Jenna Evans Welsh. I love Jenna Evans Welsh. I love her books. She is such a great writer, and every single one of her books just give me such good vibes. Very summery. I think I read it in October, but it definitely gave me like summery vibes, and it was just so cute. I love also that Jenna Evans Welsh, she writes romance, but that's not like the main theme of the book. The main theme of the book is family. In every single one of her books that I've read, the first one I read, it was about her parents, and the second book I read from her, is this one, and this is about her brother, and the third book that I read is about her dad, and so like it has very strong family connections and ties and working through family stuff with a hint of romance. It's great. I love it. Rion is maybe her name. She said, I'm so disappointed. I absolutely loved Love and Gelato, the first of this standalone series. It's one of my favorites, but I absolutely hated this one. I didn't find anything that I liked about it, and believe me, I tried. I hated the main character. Like, OMG, she was just arguing and awful the entire book. Her brother was a jerk, and Rowan had almost no point. I didn't even feel like I was in Ireland. Like, I felt like I was in Italy. We'll get back to that. It's honestly really hard for me to give books 1 star. I'm not too harsh of a critic, really. I never give books 1 star, but this, I'm so mad. Because I like this more than Love and Gelato. I think Love and Gelato I gave like a 4 star, but this is a 5. Again, with the main characters that everyone hates. I think that's really interesting because, yeah, she was complaining basically the entire time. And yeah, the brother was kind of a jerk, but that's the point. That's the point, is that they're both young. They're both early to mid teenagers. They're trying to get that bond back that they had when they were kids. That's the point of this book. Also, I thought it was super interesting. She said I didn't even feel like I was in Ireland, like I felt like I was in Italy, which is where Love and Gelato takes place, is Italy. So maybe because she had such a high review of Love and Gelato, she just carried that into this book. I felt like I was in Ireland. I've never been to Ireland, but my family has. I felt like I was reading about their trip, especially with like the Blarney Stone. It gave very much Ireland vibes. So next 1-star reviews from Auden. We're gonna go with that. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce names. I'm terrible. I would kiss the pissy herpes stone 1,000 times rather than force myself to read this again. It physically hurts to get through. Referring to the Blarney Stone. What? Sorry, the way she describes the Blarney Stone is crazy to me. I genuinely did not know what the negativity of this book would be, and I'm surprised, to say the least. Anyway, I will continue to love this book. It literally has its own, you can see it up there a little bit, its own gold stand, because it was the only 5-star of last year, so it needed its time to shine. Moving on, we have another recent read, Powerless. I have not read the rest of the series yet. So if I find a spoiler in here and it's not shielded saying that it's a spoiler, I'm gonna be pissed. They are on their way. They will be arriving tomorrow. If you want to see me read Powerless, find my AI picks the books I read video. It'll be in that one. Okay, this is a longer one, and it has multiple paragraphs, but the paragraphs are short sentences. So, from Jessica. Did I honestly read the same book as everyone else? Because I seriously doubt it. Nor do I think an editor did. There's just no way I can give this 5 stars. Like it seems to be getting left and right, and here's why. The lack of editing is seriously criminal for a big publisher like Simon and Schuster. So many continuity errors, so many grammar mistakes, so much awkward and unrealistic, unnatural dialogue from page 1, so many odd skips and jumps in the narrative. It honestly feels like a Wattpad story that was hastily written and posted at 2 a.m. without a second thought. Here's the thing though, these kinds of things can be overlooked and not take the reader out of the story if the reader is thoroughly engaged, and I just wasn't. It's not original by any means. I've read this kind of plot so many times before. It has so many overused tropes, and I could predict any sort of plot twist from the very beginning. So, because of my lack of interest in the story, the editing mistakes were the nail in the coffin that made me just not want to deal with this story anymore. I didn't hate it, but it's just not a book I would personally consider good or enjoyable. Not for me at all, but I'm happy so many people could overlook the writing issues and get hooked on the story. 1 star. Wow. Thank you, Jessica. That was such a great review. Like, obviously, it was a negative review, but it was so thorough of what she hated and why this was her opinion, and it was so kind for the readers who do like the book. Like, thank you. I wish more people wrote their reviews like her. Again, with the terrible writing. How many times in this video have the books that I love been considered terrible writing? She said it's not original, it has so many overused tropes, and a predictable plot twist. Not original. That is the comment I find most often about this book, that it's like the Hunger Games. Main character is from the slums. She gets selected for these trials or these games that she goes through, and they're basically fighting to the death. And even during the first game, she uses a bow and arrow. Everyone's saying this is basically the Hunger Games. I've never read the Hunger Games. I have watched the movies, so I understand where they're coming from, and like I know of the Hunger Games. I've just never read the book, so I don't know how closely compared they are. But I didn't mind, because so many people say that it's like the Hunger Games because of the trials. But like, look how many books are like that. Like, look how many fantasy books have the same overall theme. Like, I think it's fine for books to have the same overall theme as long as they're different in some way. And as far as I know, this was. So, the overused tropes, I actually loved that about this book. I loved about this book. The point of reading for me is to get lost in a love story. Honestly, I'm a romance reader. So reading a fantasy book that every single chapter is romance coded, I loved. I ate up. There was everything I could have wanted in there. There was sharing a bed. There was you touch her, you die. There was running after her as she's leaving the ball. There was so many little micro tropes that I just ate up. So that is personal, but I really loved it. And I could predict any sort of plot twist from the very beginning. I definitely wasn't like super thrown off by anything that happened. I just enjoyed it. It was just an easy, good read. Annabelle said, disappointing. More than disappointing. The hype for this book infuriates me because if this is the standard is in hell. It was basically just in word that I can't pronounce of popular tropes, and the main character was a carbon copy of every other generic YA lead to exist, lacking any flaws whatsoever. Where's the originality? The world building, the character development. A good romance requires more than a few tropes and loads of cringy banter. Further, the writing was ridiculously poor and under-edited. She also mentions the combination of popular tropes and that the main character was a copy of every other generic YA lead to exist. I can see that. I haven't read too many fantasy books. I definitely told my husband that I was getting kind of like America Singer vibes from the selection because they were very similar, which I loved. I love America. So I loved the main character in this book too, but I do understand that they were similar characters. So that might be more the case if I had read more fantasies, but I loved it. And this is what I was saying. Okay, this person points out the lack of any flaws whatsoever. Where's the originality? Okay, that's what I was saying about these unlikable characters that I like. Because for a character to have depth, they need to have flaws and kind of be unlikable, you know? So I feel like Annabelle gets me on that one. The world building, that was weird for me because I'm used to fantasy books laying it all out for me in the very beginning of the book, which I hate. I hate the first 100 pages of any fantasy book because it's just world building. This didn't have that. It just jumped right in and we got information as the story went on, which I personally liked. It also asked where the character development was. And that's where I say series? Maybe it's in the other books. I don't know. I haven't read them. But that's at least what I'm expecting. Because even at the end of the book, the characters were totally changing and developing and completely flipping roles, some of them. So I think the other books will have a lot of character development. She also said that banter was cringy. I didn't think so. I ate it up. I thought it was so funny, so good. And then she also said something about the writing being unedited and poor. Apparently I have a shield. Oh, I have rose-colored glasses for bad writing because I don't see it in any of my books. I don't see it. That's that for Powerless. Let's move on to our last and final book, which honestly, I don't want to hear one-star reviews about this book. Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing by Matthew Perry. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. But this is the theme of today's video, so let's look at it. From Pam. I regret listening to this nonsense. Sometimes things should just not be published. After listening to this, I dislike him more. I thought maybe we'd get a little bit of insight, but really all it was the blame game. He blamed his mother, he blamed his father, he blamed the people around him, he blamed the big terrible thing. He blames literally everybody and everything, including God, but never once does he take accountability for himself. He also doesn't have a very high opinion of women. That's blatantly clear in almost everything he has to say about his mother and any of the women he dated and worked with. I seriously think the only 3 people he actually had high opinions of were Erin, his sober companion / assistant, I think she was, and his 2 sisters. I don't know if the wisecracks about Keanu and Robert Duvall were supposed to be jokes, but they definitely did not hit. Did it make me sad that he had to struggle and deal with addiction and alcoholism? Yes. And that isn't even the reason why I didn't like this book. It literally was the way he looked at the world and blamed everybody else. I just don't know. I feel like I didn't learn anything. He went through all these experiences and hardships, and it still sounded like he didn't care. Like he just said he was upset and none of it worked for him. I'm sure you could tell by the looks I was making as I was reading this, I don't agree. But I also can see where she's coming from. The only thing that maybe he blamed in this book is his addiction. That is the big terrible thing, is addiction. I think all of us in some way have had an addiction, and obviously not nearly as devastating as the addiction he went through, but even with my own things that I struggle with that I'm quote unquote addicted to, it's this thing in your brain that needs your addiction to cope with life, and it is so insanely difficult to flip that off, and especially alcoholism and drug addiction. I can't even imagine how much harder that is. But I don't think he ever blamed anyone else in his life. He gave his story. He gave the story of him, which includes his mother, his father, the people around him. I could tell you my story and how I got to where I am today, and there would be positive things to say about the people in my life, and there would be negative things to say about the people in my life that made me who I am today. That's just how life works. But I don't think he was blaming those people for his struggles. I think he was just sharing his experience with these people. And I can see where they say he doesn't have a very high opinion of women because as he's telling his life story, there are instances where he is not a good guy and he is manipulating women and he is, I guess, what you have the opinion of him and just not being very good towards the women in his life. But at the same time, I'll say again, he is sharing his story. He's sharing the bad things that he's done. He's admitting to those. He's like, yeah, I did do this terrible thing to this person in my life. Yeah, I did do this, and I did say this to this person. I did those things. But he definitely has respect for the women in his life. After saying all these terrible things that he did, he then gives his respect to the women in his life who supported him and who had to endure him. I don't remember the wisecracks about Keanu and Robert Duvall, so I can't touch on that part of the review. We're just gonna skip over that. I think it's so interesting at the beginning. It says, I disliked him more after this book. I have loved this man since the first time he says, and I just won $1 million on TV. Okay? And after reading his book, I love him more because he is more three-dimensional to me. I know of the things that he screwed up on. I know of the things that he did bad, and I know of the things he had to endure, and I see his outlook on life and how he got to where he got to. I don't know. That's just crazy to me. Hey, Megan said, F me, he's insufferable. I loved him, but my goodness, what a prick. Like I said, he admits to a bunch of terrible things that he did in his life, but I love she said, I loved him, but what a prick. Like, yeah, I kind of get that. I kind of get that. He is not a saint in any way, but I still love this man. I really got the most heated over Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing, that's for sure. Those are my thoughts on 1-star reviews to my favorite books. Thank you so much for watching. I know this might not have been the most riveting content, but in order to make the reading vlogs or any of those more fun interactive videos, I needed to do something like this where I can sit down, film the entire thing, and post it within a week. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come read reviews with me. I appreciate all the support that I've gotten as I've started this YouTube channel. It has been so good for me and my mental health. I've accomplished so much more in the past month and a half than I would have without YouTube. So, thank you so much. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye. I don't want to read any 1-star reviews of this book. I love this book. What do you mean someone gave it a 1-star review? Okay, this one's kind of long. I don't want to.